Hey there, welcome. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. Well, the malignant tumor called Election 2024 limps along, and we have the next couple of bullet points on our plot line. After a wild weekend where you saw history being made in front of your face, we now have the Republican National Convention underway, which means we now finally know who the VP pick is. It's J.D. Vance. Let's ask my first guest, Raven Harrison. What do you think about J.D. Vance as the vice presidential pick for Trump?
I think it is proof that that Trump is playing 5D chess when everybody else is playing checkers. It is probably the best and most solid strategic move he could have made in this situation. I mean, it had people scratching heads, it had people wiffle waffling. It is very Trump-esque.
So why are you such a fan of this pick? What was the strategy here?
The strategy is for those who don't know, J.D. Vance is a senator in Ohio. He's 39 years old. He's a Marine Corps veteran, and I think he became Catholic about 5 years ago. But he was a very solid never-Trumper. He has been on record of saying some really nasty things about Trump, and that's what everybody first jumped to. But what has won people over is the humility of him coming and saying, yes, I did feel that way. I bought into a lot of the propaganda, but then I got to know him. I got to do my research, and now I'm a fan. That's all we've ever wanted, and it's also proof that people can reach across the aisle. He did with that pick what everybody has been saying government should do since the beginning, which is learn how to work together, learn how to pull in people that disagree with you, learn how to unite the party.
I have noticed people pointing to his geography and his pull in the Rust Belt. Now, Ohio has somehow turned from a swing state to a pretty solid red state. But adjacent to them, to the east, you have Pennsylvania. To the north, you have Michigan. A little bit west, you have Wisconsin. And I've been hearing multiple people say that J.D. Vance is going to help win those three swing states. He's very popular up there. And we don't know him that well down here in Texas. So do you track that? Is he really going to have a big effect on those 3-4 states?
He is, because he is what we've been trying to accomplish in the Republican Party. How do we bridge the gap? How do we mend the differences? How do we unite and get more perspectives in? How do we not be the Bible-thumping, radical, this is the way it must be party? And the way it is you bring in people who think like that, people who were once on the other side. And I think it's awesome. We've got some real battleground states, even in lieu of what happened with Trump. But the momentum has definitely swung his way. And I'm telling you, if they're going to be taking shots like this at Trump, then we're glad to have a Marine there backing him up, for all of this. And that's the way I think we should look at it. This is what we wanted. This is progress. Well,
one thing that I haven't heard a whole lot of people talk about, and in fact, I hadn't heard anyone talk about it, but I was expecting it to be a bigger conversation the second we knew who this guy was he picking this dude with, in the back of his mind, this is going to be my heir apparent. This is going to be the guy who, after I'm done, could very well be on the top of the ticket, or maybe in a couple other election cycles, he's going to be the future of the Republican Party. And I hadn't heard that be part of the discussion. You think that was a big player?
I don't. I think that, yes, him being the future of the party and where this is going to go is big. But it was somebody who would complement Trump's style. This is not J.D. Vance's party, not yet. This is Trump world. And now, like I said, we got to see true leadership on Saturday. We got to see the absolute horrific corruptness that a government brings by trying to take him out in the buffoonery of the Secret Service. But we saw leadership. We saw a commander-in-chief stand up bloody and defiant and tell people to fight, rather than have himself immediately whisked off to safety. And James, long overdue. That was the most presidential moment I have seen in modern history, and the Dems are losing their freaking minds.
Well, they should. That's a Pulitzer Prize photo when he's coming off the stage, and these things usually end up polling pretty well. Here's my other concern, though, Raven Harrison. You look like you keep yourself in pretty good shape. I think you could whoop about half of his detail in this Secret Service.
Well, I'm guaranteed I could say more than half. But if it was up to me, I wouldn't have put myself at 5'6" in front of 6'4" Trump. Who the heck makes these decisions for these people? But I mean, the end of the day, there are some gaps we can't account for a half an hour. And the fact that, Captain Brainfart got up there yesterday and once again, doubled down on that rhetoric. I didn't say crosshairs. I meant like center of the bullseye or whatever the freak he was talking about this time. That's what people need to see. That's how desperate this party is. This is what they resorted to. And I have a graphic up on my social media, and it's a picture of Trump with that bloody fist, and it says, "Nice try, a-hole."
I'm just going to be enjoying every day from now until November 5th. Because, I know you're probably busy and you can't listen to all 3 hours of my show, but I have so much funny audio coming up where Rachel Maddow is concerned that they might try to stop the vote count in the middle of the night and sneak in a bunch of votes. It's like, oh, really? What's that like? It's fun watching them react to this situation because, boy, they are really in a tough spot. They have a candidate who has basically Lucky Charms for brains. Their opponent just took a shot in the head and got up and told his followers to fight. The polls are not in their direction. They have nothing going for them right now. I'm kind of enjoying it.
Well, I am too. And so just watch for the resurgence of Roe versus Wade. When nothing else you have, go back to abortion. But the momentum, they can't stop. They can mock him, they can insult him, but they can't stop him. And that's where we need to be. And this is a time to unite. He's showing us how. So we're going to either play ticky-tack politics or we're going to get on board and get this country back on track.
Right, but I have that little brother feel where if I notice something agitates the guy next to me, that makes me want to do it more. And so I feel like just pretending like Raven, we have these secret meetings because it would drive them nuts. Don't tell them about our secret meetings about Project 2025 and how we're going to bring back the Handmaid's Tale, Raven. Don't let the outside world know. We're going to sneak through this election and then all the women are going to be dressed like ketchup bottles from here on out.
Well, I invite you, James, to have as much fun with us. I tell Patriots, I am wearing my MAGA stuff everywhere, to the doctor, to the resorts. I am inviting them. We're going to walk in that boldness. So I am enjoying it. You can throw spitballs or whatever makes you happy at the opposition, but this is our time. We've waited for this momentum and we've got it. So now we got to take advantage of it.
Real quick, starting running out of time here. So just try and keep it under a minute, but Amber Rose spoke at the Republican National Convention last night. I'm going to play some of the audio coming up probably in the next segment. But what an amazing conversion story this is, because I'm also going to play you audio from her promotion. She's one of the founders of the Slut Walk. And in 2015, she's like, hey, I'm Amber Rose, leading the Slut Walk, where we can show. So she went from hyper feminist to now she's running around in a MAGA hat. Some people were criticizing. It's like, listen, we don't need to have Wiz Khalifa's baby mama out there as the face of our party. And it's like, well, no, she's not the face. But I think that outreach is critical.
She is proof of what can happen when you do your own research, come to your own conclusions, and stop having your opinion spoon-fed to you by, CNN. What do I always say, James? I don't listen to CNN for the same reason I don't drink out of the toilet.
Amen. All right, tell them where they can find you outside the James Show, Raven.
They can find me at theroarmission.com, theroarpack.com, and ravenharrison.com. We're going to be kicking butt at the convention.
All right, thank you very much. There she is, Raven Harrison, back on the James Show. So good to have you around. I love it when she's all fired up. All right. So coming up next, you will hear some of the highlights from the RNC, but also if you want to jump in, phone lines are open, 800-288-WBAP. That's 800-288-9227. So highlights from the RNC and your conversation next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, under normal circumstances, the day after we get the vice presidential pick, I would be asking you, what do you think of the vice presidential pick? And I am asking. It's not that I'm not asking, I'm not interested, but this is a guy who is relatively a small name. He's definitely not going to outshine Trump. I don't think anybody could outshine him or upstage him at this point. But this isn't too much different than Mike Pence in that fact, where I knew the name. I knew he existed. He's been on the national stage for a little while. I mean, I heard his voice at least, but no, I don't know his biography. I haven't read his book. I don't know all of his background. And when I go through the Audiotron 3000, I don't have a nice library of JD Vance audio clips that we can go bounce off of. So I'm going to be doing what you're doing over the next few months and trying to learn more about this dude. If it looks like he's about to step in as our next vice president. And obviously that's like what I said with Raven, that sort of makes him the heir apparent. So Trump only has one term left. And it has been sort of a political pattern that you've noticed that when one guy terms out, his vice president is the top guy in the conversation to replace him. So we may be seeing a lot of JD Vance in the future. What do you know that I don't know? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I love the little know-it-alls, and I mean that in a nice way. Like this weekend, when we were doing the special coverage after the attempted assassination of Trump, the gun nuts that were calling me and telling me of the little nuances about how the gun systems or the details around the shooting worked in ways that you and I might not be as familiar with. Totally useful. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And for you people who are like, oh, well, I used to live in Ohio and I know J.D. Vance's younger brother went to college with my sister and they dated twice. Nothing happened. But I want to hear those stories. If you have any inside info on J.D. Vance, if you're an Ohio transplant, that'd be cool too. 800-288-9227. Well, the Republican National Convention had Amber Rose speak last night. And you don't know who Amber Rose is. I'm assuming you don't. If you do, congratulations. You must be in the younger part of the demographic because I barely know who she is, and I'm a fan of such things. Like she used to date Kanye West, and I'm a Kanye West fan. And then she had a baby with Wiz Khalifa, and I think they were married for a while. And I'm sort of a Wiz Khalifa fan. I like hip hop, but Amber Rose came on the national profile in my observation, dating Kanye West, but when they split up, she didn't drop off. She had her own little career. She was on some reality shows, if I remember correctly, and she had sort of a political side to her, but very different than the one you saw last night at the Republican National Convention. You and I, let's jump in the DeLorean. We're going to go back in the Wayback Machine here to 2015. This is a video that was put on YouTube September 25th, 2015. So about 9 years ago. Amber Rose is one of the founding members of the Slut Walk. Now, excuse my language. It's not something I would normally say on the James Show, but it's totally FCC compliant, and that's what Amber Rose named it. Thank you very much. And the Slut Walk was a very assertive, feminine public display of the celebration of being a slut, for lack of a better term. Now, some of this is rooted in, women get treated like objects, and, they're going to take their own power back by owning their bodies and walking around topless. And, if it's illegal to walk around topless where you're at, they'll put pasties over the pigmented parts and just have a good old time with it. Now, a lot of people who consider themselves more conservative culturally weren't big fans of the Slut Walk. So what weird bedfellows this makes to hear this lady speaking at the Republican National Convention last night when this was her 9 years ago starting the Slut Walk.
Hey, it's Amber Rose, and I want to welcome you to my Slut Walk October 3rd, downtown LA at Pershing Square. Log on to filmon.com/slutwalk, and you can see it all over the world. There are 15,000 people that are showing up to the Slut Walk. Please get there early. Sign making starts at 10 a.m. The walk starts at 11. This is an amazing cause for women. It's a double standard world, and we're done with it. Please support the cause. I love you guys.
Yeah, and she's right, though. There is a double standard there because it doesn't make the news when me and Eric Bushman walk around downtown topless and pasties. And so that's just total double standard, and it's got to stop. Amber Rose at the Republican National Convention last night told a story about how she became pro-Trump, how she's been seen in these viral videos wearing a MAGA hat, saying nice things about Trump. How did the founder of the Slut Walk, one of the ground zero sluts, in her verbiage, come to speak at the Republican National Convention? This is her sort of conversion story. It's very Christian-esque. It's almost like a testimony. How are you converted?
I know this because for a long time I believed those lies, so I'm here to set the record straight. The first person I knew who supported Donald Trump was my father. I was shocked. My entire family is racially diverse, and I believed the left-wing propaganda that Donald Trump was a racist. My father said, "No, he's not, Amber. What are you talking about?" And when I insisted, he said, "Prove it." So to prove my father wrong, I did my research and looked into all things Donald Trump.
people cheering
have to do their
research.
I watched all the rallies, and I started meeting so many of you, his red hat wearing supporters. I realized Donald Trump and his supporters don't care if you're black, white, gay, or straight. It's all love.
Yeah, just don't sterilize children, please.
And that's when it hit me. These are my people. This is where I belong.
Now, that's not exciting to you, but there are a whole lot of people who otherwise wouldn't even consider the Republican Party, but now at least open the door because she's saying this.
So I let go of my fear of judgment, of being misunderstood, of getting attacked by the left, and I put the red hat on too. Thank you.
Pretty amazing.
Love you too. I never felt more free and more love for my country than I do now. I want to thank my father, who's in the audience tonight, for opening my eyes. He served over 20 years in the U.S. military. Thank you for your service, Dad.
Oh, and her dad's the military vet. Okay, so that's Amber Rose at the Republican National Convention last night. How good was that? Well, you know it's good because Van Jones said it was terrible. Van Jones, the communist on MSNBC.
That was probably the most dangerous speak for the Democratic coalition. That is a young woman of color. She's describing the experience a lot of people have, feeling that maybe if you're around too many liberals, you might get criticized too much, or you might not be able to speak your mind. And she spoke to it really well. And she's way more famous than any of us up here. Yeah. I'm going to tell you that, way more famous. And so to the extent that these guys are trying to bust up our coalition, that was a bunker buster right there.
You got to like that. You got to love the sound of that. All right, if you want to be part of the conversation, 800-288-9227. Your thoughts on the Republican National Convention, JD, Vance, Trump, all of it. Coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. As if this election cycle wasn't weird enough, we got to keep our head on a swivel for this new AI technology because we're looking to be fooled by this anytime soon. And we're also seeing it expand outside the election world into the real world. I mean, you hear the robots calling your phone, and whenever you try and get help through someone's website, they're like, hey, you could just chat with us here. You know, you're chatting with an AI. So how far has it gone this far, and how far is it going to go? Let's ask an AI expert. Matt Rosen is on the James Show from Aleda. Welcome, Matt Rosen. Just how far has AI gotten thus far?
Yeah, James, thanks for having me on the show. Well, you know, AI has been talked about since the 50s, and there's lots of papers published on it, for literally the last 70 years, and it really wasn't until the last couple of years that we've actually had the computing power for all these theories and models to become a reality. I mean, I had a Commodore 64 and wrote BASIC back in the 80s, and it's absolutely amazing how far technology has come. And I think when people really woke up to AI, it was back in November of 2022 when OpenAI launched their ChatGPT model out to the public, and it reached like 100 million users really quickly. And ever since then, they've been churning out model after model, as has been Google and a number of other competitors. But the models that most people are exposed to really just predict what word's going to come next. It doesn't really do any real thinking, and it hallucinates and tells you things that aren't real. So it hasn't really been widely used in production in most organizations that we work with, but lots of people are using it to help them with their job, to create emails, to write songs, to come up with images. So it's come a long way in a short period of time, but it still has, I think, a long way to go before you start to see businesses really embracing it outside of what you talked about, like just a chat bot that helps you order something or helps you return an item.
I like how you threw out your credentials by saying you hand-coded BASIC in the 80s.
Yep. It's been a while since I've coded. You wouldn't want me near a computer anymore, but I definitely have tried to incorporate the use of ChatGPT. And, at Aleda, we've actually built a number of our own internal bots that keep the information private in our walls, to really help our consultants be better at what they do. Because, frankly, if we don't stay ahead of this technology, AI is going to replace us. And so we've got to keep our skills sharp and really help our clients understand how AI is going to actually change their world for the better and avoid changing it for the worse.
Well, I look around my job environment, and here's something that's awful. It seems like it would be really hard for AI to replace what Garrett does over on the board, turning the volume up and down, screening the calls. Seems like an almost impossible job at this point. Bushman doing the news, there's no way he could be replaced by AI. We've seen AI try and write articles and whatnot. I think I'm actually the one that's first and most likely to be replaced by AI at my workplace because I don't actually do anything. I'm a talking head. I don't even need my arms and legs. I just sit here and talk. I think I have one of the most vulnerable jobs because I don't do anything physical.
I don't think you're going to be replaced anytime soon or be headed to the beach. If you interact with a lot of these AI models, they can create a lot of different voices. You can talk to them and they talk back. With what, some of the new technology OpenAI got leaked about is, there's going to be, a new model release that it can actually do some reasoning like a human. I don't think that's going to be out for a little while longer. But, you get on the air, you create relationships, you come up with content and ideas, and, it's entertainment and, providing insights. And I just don't see AI replacing you anytime in the near future. I wouldn't tune in for that.
Well, it depends on am I going to be the guy that's programming the AI host? Because I think that's a job I would like. I would love to be able for when someone says, well, hey, has this ever happened before? And I can say, yes, in 1453, when Mehmet was sacking Constantinople, XYZ happened. Just have the infinity of knowledge at your fingertips that I definitely don't. So that's just something I think about is AI seems to be more of a threat to us who just talk for a living, or it's just information based and not physical.
Yeah, well, you could actually go out to ChatGPT today. I don't know if you've had a chance to play with it and ask it some of those questions. Or if you were to upload transcripts of all your shows, you'd be like, hey, when did I have this person as a guest? Because, when I think about the things AI is really good at, it's really good at gaining insights from a vast amount of information that would take human, months to pour through. It can do in virtually seconds.
Yeah.
It can create nice starting points for things. It can automate some things. But I really view it as a tool that's going to help make us better and keep us from having to do mundane things. But for those who do the same thing over and over and over again, and it's routine work, their jobs are going to be at risk, and we've got to retool people as a society, to stay ahead of what AI is going to bring. It's here. It's not been fully integrated in what we do, but it will get there over the next couple of years, just like the internet did, just like the smartphone, just like every technology revolution. Every time new technology comes out, everyone's like, oh my gosh, my job's gone. No, it just generally changes and new jobs get created.
I look forward to the next Rush Limbaugh show. They're going to digest all 30-something years of his 38 years or whatever he did of his show and be able to sort of apply it to new stories coming out. And if they ever perfect that, I think that would just be the neatest. And then maybe they'll do it for me too long after I'm gone and I won't see a dime from it anyway. Matt Rosen, how can they find you outside of the James Show?
Yeah, they can find me at our website. It's www.aleda.com. What we do as an organization is help companies figure out how to apply AI to their problems. We help them create proofs of concepts and really can help anyone that's curious about how can an AI help our organization, what are the threats and opportunities we should look out for. There's a form out there you can fill out. You can also look me up on LinkedIn. There's not a lot of Matt Rosens out there at Aleda. Would love to hear from anyone who's interested in learning more. And James, thanks so much for having me on your show this afternoon.
Thanks for the time. ALLATA.com. That's Matt Rosen. Coming up next, I want to take some of your calls. All right, John, you're going to be first up. But if you want to be after John, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. This is The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. So much to talk about with what's going on in the news. We have, it seems like it was 2 weeks ago. The Trump attempted assassination just happened on Saturday, 3 days ago? I am hoping this conversation doesn't go away anytime soon, not for political reasons, but some people have brought up some significant flaws with how the Secret Service performed, and no one's been fired yet. I mean, this story is not done, and on top of that, we still don't have a motive with any depth in it. Also, on top of that, we have Trump's cases being thrown out yesterday, along with J.D. Vance being announced as his VP pick, and some other great speeches at the RNC with Tim Scott and Amber Rose last night. So much going on. J.D. Vance is going to be speaking tonight. We're probably going to break into live coverage, maybe during Mark Levin, I believe is when that's going to happen. So much going on. We can talk about all of it. 800-288-9227. John and Melissa, you're on WBAP. What do you think, sir?
So I'd make 3 points about the J.D. Vance nomination as vice president. So I was actually at the Republican National Convention in Detroit in 1980, so 44 years ago.
Wow.
The model has always been, and actually it was interesting at that convention, they were talking about bringing Ford on as the VP for Reagan, and then it ended up, of course, being George H.W. Bush. But the model has always been, because of this, the structure of the party, that whoever's at the top of the ticket, whatever wing that person comes from, they've typically chosen someone who's from the other side of the wing. So, for example, Reagan chose Bush. Bush was more traditional, moderate Republican. When Bob Dole became the nominee, he's the more moderate wing. He chose Jack Kemp. Then you got H.W. Bush or W. Bush. He had to choose Cheney for a different reason. Anyway, what's really the greatness of Trump is he's made it quite clear that he has moved the entire Republican Party apparatus and center of gravity away from having to follow that model, because what it has caused is the inability of any policy to be changed that the people have been yearning for since Reagan. And so now the appointment of J.D. Vance has made it quite clear that we're not going to take the scraps that Democratic policy drift has given us. We no longer have to follow whatever the mainstream media tells us. We can always punch back, and we have our other centers of gravity, talk radio. You mentioned Rush Limbaugh earlier. Reagan didn't really have any of that. So he was really kind of not able to follow through on this. But,
right.
Trump has been able to really change the entire direction of the Republican Party, where we are going to see very positive change. It's going to return the country, which is a democratic republic, right? It cannot exist for long periods of time as an organ of the elites, and eventually the working people are going to make themselves felt. And I thought, the arguments that were made last night in the convention by Amber Rose, who you mentioned earlier, that was very, very powerful. I think the Hispanic woman who talked about, her experience voting for Biden in 2020, but now is all in on Trump. And of course, the single mother who was, whose husband was killed by fentanyl, who died of fentanyl, and now is a single mother having to get by. And now these are all representative. And then of course the Teamsters, guy coming in and talking. I think these are all indications that America is starting to right the ship, and that, Trump is really almost single-handedly responsible for all of this. So, I think the J.D. Vance, I actually come from Western Pennsylvania and that kind of Appalachia area. I recommend everyone go see the Hillbilly Elegy on Netflix. It's it's a riveting movie. You cannot believe what you see. That now this guy is our actual vice presidential.
Have you read the book? Sorry to interrupt. Have you read the book Hillbilly Elegy? I
have not.
Okay.
I shame on me. But I guess,
well, you know more than me. Don't be ashamed. Some of us are learning a lot right now.
Yeah. So I would say it's hard to remember back in those days when you really were families were struggling. The Cold War was still kind of going on. You didn't really know, I come from that kind of same background, that it's that Scotch-Irish kind of, backbone of all of those states that, what we call the Rust Belt. And Vance is going to be fantastic up there. And he's also got the eloquence to really take on some of these, liars in the media. I mean, Amber Rose talked about how her journey went from believing the lies of the left-wing media to actually understanding that she's been lied to this whole time. And now a lot of people are picking up on that. And I just strongly recommend. First of all, I'm very, very in favor and very happy with the pick. I think it's been fantastic. I think it also indicates the kind of dinosaurs that are left, right. The rhinos, the John Cornyn's, the Mitch McConnells. These guys are they are now no longer important to the Republican Party, and because they just don't really understand what the working people really want. They just want the country that we had. We don't want to be transformed. We don't want the Obama transformation. We want America the way it has always been.
Dare I say, would you like to make America great again, John and Melissa?
I've heard that statement somewhere.
It sounds familiar. I think I read it in a fortune cookie. Or maybe it was on the back of the Fruity Pebbles box this morning. I don't remember. Thank you very much, John and Melissa. And, he brought up Amber Rose. How would it feel being Amber Rose's dad? It's like in 2015. Hey, what's your kid up to? Mine just finished law school at SMU. Oh, yeah, well, mine just started the slut walk. That's a great the conversion that she had from being the Ground Zero Slut Walk founder to speaking at the RNC. I bet you her dad likes this story a whole lot better. Janet Jackson coming to Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, July 25th. Special guest Nelly. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. You can win tickets from us. Text the word Janet to 800-288-9227 for your chance to win. Text the word Janet to 800-288-9227. Coming up, further discussion of the RNC and Trump's VP pick on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. If you want to join the conversation, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. You can comment on any of the giant stories. If you something I missed about the assassination attempt or something I missed from the Republican National Convention last night, you're welcome to bring that in. But my current question is, look, don't want to get over my skis here. Don't want to get the cart in front of the horse, but I'm thinking Trump's going to win and it's unstoppable. And the only question is there going to be a red wave? Will he overtake the Senate? Will he expand his lead in the House? Will there be a mandate where if the agenda that is put forth wants to get through, there's no excuse for it not to get through? And if that happens, I'll be interested to see how that works out. Let's ask you, though, 800-288-9227. Let's go to Vince in Dallas. You're next up on WBAP. What do you think, sir?
Well, I think you are getting a little bit ahead of your skis, or however the statement goes. I mean, you guys thought that it was going to be a landslide this last election. But my thing is, the country is divided pretty much down the middle, so it's going to be close. And the people that love Trump loved him before the whole Biden fiasco at the debate. And the people that hate Trump still hate him after this assassination attempt. But I also think whenever Trump is done, I think the Republican Party is going to eat each other. And the reason why I say that is everybody is going to be vying to be the next Trump. But they're not going to get as much. People are not going to get behind them as much as they got behind Trump. I don't see anybody right now who can fill Trump's shoes because Trump is an entity unto itself. He can say what he wants and do what he wants. I don't think any other politician is like that.
Yeah, so, you know what? I don't think you're entirely wrong because what you're describing is what the Democrats are going through now. Obama was such a good figure for them, and everyone coalesced and everyone agreed on Obama. On Team Blue, of course, Team Red hated him. But yeah, he did solidify the Democrats. There was no bickering, there was no infighting, there was no factions within the Democrat Party when he was there. But now you have this guy who is their nominee, and you have a whole host of the top-ranking Democrat officials who are begging for a different candidate, trying to kick him out in the middle of an election cycle, and we're just 3.5 months away. And so, look, your warning maybe needed to be heeded by Team Red, because after Trump is sort of the Obama figure, who is the bench? Who is going to come in and pick up that mantle?
I go along with that, with the Democrats that want to say that hey, I don't want to follow any Democrat blindly. So if it's some Democrats that feel that they want Biden out there, speak up. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to follow nobody blind. This country ain't for kings. This country is for democracy. So if you feel that way, you shouldn't just play for a team. You should speak your mind.
Right, and
I think.
I caution the opposite from happening too. For all the Republicans that I was talking to when Obama was in office for 8 years, I used to try and say, don't focus so much on Obama. He's gonna be gone one day, and you're still going to be left fighting some of these battles. And I think that the seats are going to very well could be reversed just 4 years from now, where the Republicans and the Democrats are in opposite situations, where the Democrats are now solidified behind a popular, charismatic, popular candidate, and the Republicans are finally having their internecine civil war come to fruition.
Yeah, I think that also. When I say Trump is an entity upon himself, Trump don't have to take a step back for anything and anybody. But everybody else that's after him are pretty much politicians. And if they do something wrong, they're going to act just like a politician does. They're going to say, well, I'm sorry this happened and I'm sorry that happened. See, Trump don't do that. And that's one of the reasons why he's loved so much. You know, when he's gone, they're going to say, well, this politician says he's like Trump, but he's weak when it comes to this. You know, most people think politicians, when they say they're sorry or they did something wrong, they feel like they're weak or they cower to whoever.
The establishment wing or the rhinos.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I think we all followed that. No, good discussion to have here, though. I appreciate it, and you make me think if that's the pattern that the Republicans want to follow, that puts Vivek Ramaswamy, a guy who has has never held political office before. I mean, that kind of puts him closest into next in line for Trump. But seriously, he doesn't have the star power, the name recognition. He was never a mogul that was in Home Alone 2 and had his own TV show for years. So these are all great points, Vince. I appreciate hearing from Team Blue. Obviously, you're Team Blue, but you're still listening to the Jane Show.
And I am, and I wanted to say one thing. The last time I was on your show, I cursed. And I'm sorry about that.
Oh, you were one of the cursors.
Yeah, I'm an ex-military guy, and it just comes out. Just comes out.
I've been known to say a curse word or two before. It's totally understandable. Johnson and Granbury, you're on WBAP. What do you think, Johnson?
Well, I hate to say this, but I am not sharing in all this enthusiasm my fellow Republicans and my fellow conservatives have right now for all these bad poll numbers for Joe Biden and all these positive poll numbers for Donald Trump. I do not believe for 1 minute the Democrats are truly panicking. I do not believe that they are just now finding out that Joe Biden has cognitive mental issues. I believe that we are playing into a well-organized, well-thought-out trap. Joe Biden is the bait. We see him as vulnerable. We see him as weak. We think this big, huge red wave, once again, we thought that once before, didn't happen.
Oh, see, that's his phone breaking up. There's nothing wrong with your radio. His phone just dropped out. Jonathan, Johnson, whatever your name is, you there again?
They are not to be underestimated.
There you
go. They have well thought out, well organized, well funded groups here in the U.S. and outside of the U.S. and I do not believe for 1 minute they're going to allow Donald Trump back in the office.
Well, I think the biggest concern you got to have is no matter what the poll numbers say, are they going to stuff ballot boxes again?
Oh, I'm sure whatever it takes. I do not believe that all these 7, 9, 11 million illegals in the past 3 years are here for nothing. I believe that they will some way, somehow play a role in this. But rest assured, they have a plan. They have a backup plan. And I just don't believe my Republicans that represent us ever really, truly know what they're dealing with the Democrats. These people, they are not dumb. They are not stupid. They are not ignorant. Quite honestly, they are very clever, and they're very well at deception, and they are damn good at what they do.
All right. Thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. If you want to be next, 800-288-9227. And also, I have some more coverage, the reaction to what we had at the RNC last night. I think you'll be interested in hearing some of that, too. But you're welcome to join the conversation. Phone lines are open, 800-288-9227. The malignant tumor known as Election 2024 rolls on. We'll talk about it more next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, welcome back to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Just to let you know how brutal, and brutally honest, really, the internet is. There was a side-by-side of the security detail that was around Trump on Saturday versus the security detail that was around him at the RNC last night. You're not going to believe this. At the RNC last night, it's so weird. All dudes. All of them were men. I thought we had to have an even mix. I thought we had to have some 5'3" women in there trying to be a meat shield for a 6'4" dude. More on that on tomorrow's show, I'm sure. Barry in Dallas, you're next up on the James Show on WBAP. What do you think, sir?
I think they had this, James, in their back pocket the whole time. Think about it. They've been trying to get rid of him since 2016. And I'm sure they had some extreme people in their party saying, we'll just take him out. So I think this is the last resort. There's no doubt in my mind that they had this planned in their back pocket, and that's what happened Saturday.
Okay, I don't have enough information to say you're wrong. I have some general questions as sort of a pushback here. Yep. So the 20-year-old, is he like a CIA operative? Was he trained by the CIA and they just took him out? Or was he like a Lee Harvey Oswald, just a crazy guy that they pointed in the right direction?
Yeah, exactly.
Which one?
Crazy guy that they pointed in the right direction.
Okay, so if that's the case, now we have the huge coincidence, if your theory is correct, that this 20-year-old is from Butler. He's from just down the road. So what an amazing coincidence that they had this long-term plan set up where they had a crazy guy that they were ready to point in the right direction. And just by a great, circumstance that Trump decided to plan a rally there? And how do you resolve that coincidence?
Probably they had 3 or 4, people in mind. And that was just, hey, there's our Buffalo guy or wherever it was. That's our guy. Let's get...
Okay, and so then the other natural pushback, and again, just not saying you're wrong, just the logical pushback on that is, so is the Secret Service in on it? Did they let it happen, or have they just been doing terrible security at all the events, and this could have happened at any number of other security lapses? It just so happened this is the one that had the crazy guy that tried something.
What do we know for facts? They asked for security, extra security, and they got denied. That's a fact.
Okay.
So, and then all of a sudden we have all males at the convention. That's a fact. I mean, something changed there. So something was wrong somewhere. So.
Well, I can't say you're wrong. I mean, maybe one day we'll get some new information, and I know that sounds really far out, but it always sounds far out until it happens. So it's worth talking about. Thank you for calling in, Barry. I appreciate you hanging on the phone and being part of the conversation, sir.
All right, James. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Let's go to David. David in Arlington, you're next up on the James Show on WBAP. What do you think?
James, I think it's a bunch of stuff. I think it's leading up to prelude to something a little bit larger because right now the RNC and the DNC is very vulnerable right now into the eyes of our adversaries.
Explain.
Well, I'll tell you what. Somebody tried to kill our ex-president the other day, and what's going to happen next?
Yeah, so I guess you're hinting at, are they going to try again? Is that what you're asking?
No, I'm just commenting.
Just more civil unrest, generally speaking, not that specifically. See, I could see that. I can see that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't have enough information to tell you you're wrong. But I've also noticed that from what little evidence we've had from similar instances, that these people can be paper tigers. They can talk a lot of smack. We're never going to put up with that. And we'll get out in the streets and we'll get in their face and we'll make sure this doesn't happen. We'll stand up for our rights. But after 9/11 happened, what happened to all the anti-American haters for a minute? Did they stand their ground and Or did they shut up? Did they back off? No one burnt the flag for about 2 years. No one cussed America or talked about how this is the most deplorable country ever for a little bit after 9/11. It wasn't really unity. It was just one side was pissed off enough to make sure the other side kept their mouth shut for a little while. I don't fear these people. These are people that are scared of guns. They find guns scary. They find the correct pronouns scary. They find plastic straws scary. Do not let these people think, or do not think that these people are going to be a physical threat to the other side of the aisle anytime soon. All right, that's going to do it for the James Show. Jordan Davis is coming to the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory August 9th. Special guests Mitchell Tenpenny and Ashley Cook. You can get tickets now at livenation.com or text Jordan to 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227 for your chance to win a pair of tickets right now. In the meantime, for more James Show action, I'm going to go cut up the podcast and put it up at WBAP.com and the WBAP app. If you're already listening to podcasts somewhere else, you can search for it there. Maybe it'll pop up. But find me on social media. Follow, share, like, subscribe, whatever it takes. And we'll do this again tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out on The James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.